All right, so we are joined by Ridgeland Fire Department Captain, member of the Jackson State University Athletic Hall of Fame, my man, Sean Woodson. We are joined. I've got a full room here with me at Velma Jackson High School. This is for our college career readiness class. We're in the Law and Public Safety Career Cluster, and we're recording this for our friends at Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Ridgeland, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you again for taking some time out of your busy schedule for us today.
My pleasure. I'm excited to be here.
Now, before we get into what all it is you do as a firefighter there in Ridgeland, we'll go back to the beginning. Jim Hill High School, then you went to Jackson State. So take us through that. You know, you grew up in Jackson, and then went to Jackson State, where you played for James Carson there with the Jackson State Tigers.
Well, yeah, I'm the Jim Hill guy, Jackson Public Schools. I finished high school in 1992 and started over at Jackson State University. Had the pleasure of playing under James Carson and had an opportunity to be on the team of one of those great teams that Jackson State's had over the years. We had a pretty successful team for the 4 years. My last 2 years, junior and senior year, we won the conference. We finished 9-2, 10-1. We played in the playoffs a couple years and was unfortunately beaten the first round. Worthy opponents, though. So it was a great experience. I learned a lot from it, and it's kind of shaped and molded me to be who I am today.
That's awesome. And, you know, we got a lot of athletes with us here and that are watching later. And you did have you played for the short time for the Buffalo Bills and played 8 years in Canada. So you did play professional football for 9 seasons. But you are not just rolling and swimming in cash, which seems to be the thought of a lot of these kids that, you know, if I can be a pro athlete, I'll just have money for the rest of my life. And you did make a good living, but it was not just to stop working and just be being on videos all the time.
Exactly. I'm all for people going for their dream. If you work hard and you discipline yourself and you put your focus on those goals that you want to achieve, anything's possible. But to be frank and be perfectly honest with you, the NFL stands for not for long. The average career is about 3 years. And I was fortunate enough to be drafted in the 5th round in 97. And I bumped around in the league for about 3 years. I played for the Bills. I played for the Eagles and had a real short stint with the Raiders. So I had a great opportunity. I learned a lot. And then I went up to Canada and played for 5 seasons. So it was a great experience in terms of letting football open up doors and take me places I've never been and do some of those things in life that people, they dream of doing. And so it was a great opportunity. Having said that, though, there's always that after the cheers stop, you know, you have to be prepared for that second phase of life. The average NFL player, when he starts, is going to be around 21 years old. And let's just say he plays 6 or 7 years. Okay, so now he's 28 years old. You still have to do something for the rest of your life. You have to have had been extremely smart with your money if you were fortunate enough to make enough to sustain yourself for the rest of your life. And that's a very small percentage of people because of just the cost of life today, just the cost of living. You know, the average salary in the NFL in my particular time was around $131,000. Now it's around 300 or 400. But everything, the cost of living has changed as well. Everything's going up. So it sounds good, but in theory and reality, you're going to have to do something else.
Yeah, and for every Jalen Hurts who just signed for $250 million, there's 1,000 Sean Woodson. So it's not like there are even more than 1,000. That is a very, very rare case. But even though, like you said, we encourage kids if they want to be an athlete to push for that goal, especially if you can go to college for free and if you're good enough to get that experience. But it really needs to lead to other things, which it led to for you there at Ridgeland Fire Department, where you've moved up to captain. And I'm a big believer, if somebody's an athlete and they enjoy the team atmosphere, they enjoy staying in shape, being a firefighter can be a great way to stay in that team mindset, to stay in shape, and to, be a front line of the action, because it is, for especially people that are adrenaline junkies, it could be something that you could get a rush out of, and you're with the team still. You're not using the ball, but you work as a team.
It is. It's an ultimate team job. I mean, everybody's dependent on each other to do their job. We live together, which is kind of like a dorm setting. We travel together just like you would if you were on a team. So we spend a third of our life at the fire department. So definitely, if there's something that you're interested in, it's the opportunity the opportunity is a great. It's so I can't even explain it. It's one of the best things I decided to do in my life. I mean, you're giving back to your community, and again, if you're a adrenaline junkie, you'll get all you can handle. Trust me. But the biggest thing in that is you want to have a love for what you do in anything. And I'm not just talking about being a firefighter. Of course, if that's what you want to do, but anytime you're doing something that you love, you're never working a day in your life. So
Absolutely.
you're inspired to go to work every day. You're excited about what's to come and what's going on at your job and in your field. So when you're choosing a career, you want to think long and hard about it and imagine, is this something you could do? Is this something you want to do? Is it something you're going to enjoy doing? And a lot of times in life, we don't figure that out till later on. But the earlier we can do that, the better off you'll be.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of the fire and rescue TV shows. The Chicago Fire, the 911, and all that stuff is cool. And we've kind of thought and said, yes, some of that stuff is kind of realistic, but that's not an everyday thing on how a firefighter's life is. Because yeah, you do fight fires if there is one, but you guys are professional rescuers. You have medical training, you have disaster training, and then in Ridgeland, you guys even do water rescue. You guys have a big time dive team that gets stuff out of the reservoir. So it is
Right.
not just jumping into burning buildings. There's a
Right.
lot that goes into it. So just talk a little bit about the training that you get, and then some of the things you see on an everyday basis.
Well, again, like you mentioned, there are so many avenues that being a firefighter can take you into. There are so many opportunities that will present itself just by becoming a firefighter. There's a lot of training available, and as far as you want to go, as high as you want to go, and as well rounded as you want to be. Initially, just a guy off the street, the first couple of things you're going to have here in this state and across the country now, you're going to have to go to the fire academy and get that 1001 1002 certification. It's just basic firefighting. Also now it's becoming more of a requirement more so than a requisite that you become an EMT. So you're going to have to get that medical training. You're going to become an EMT basic, and those qualifications actually, with those qualifications, you could ride on the ambulance, and assist the paramedic. So we're capable in doing that as well. And we have guys that go on to get their paramedic, and so basically just to get your career started, you're going to have to get that EMT certification, and you'll have to go to the fire academy, which is about 8 weeks at the fire academy here in the state of Mississippi, and become a certified firefighter. For those that are really interested, the way to get ahead of this thing is go ahead and get your EMT out the way. It's about a year. It's a semester, and uh, most junior colleges in the area offer that course. Holmes, Hines are very good uh, schools that provide that opportunity for you, and it's sound education. You'll get a great uh, environment to learn at either one of those schools.
Yeah, and they have the accelerated program for those EMTs now. So we've had a few that have done that, and you can get, I think it's like 2 months. It's accelerated, and you get done quickly. So I
Oh,
agree. Holmes and Hines.
and that's why I said I corrected myself. It's a semester.
Yeah,
And now they said 2 months, but basically it's a semester. Uh, what's going to cover the time though? You still have to do um, your ride-alongs, your clinicals is what I'm referring to. So you'll get the classroom portion of it done, but then you have to fulfill a certain amount of clinicals to be able to sit for the national registry,
yeah.
and you have to be recognized by the state and nationally recognized to be an EMT base.
Yeah. Now, and again, we go back to the everyday life of a firefighter. First of all, you never know what's going to happen. It is probably the most unpredictable job on the planet, which to me is a lot of fun because it's never the same thing. But when you talk about firefighters, yeah, if there is a fire, they're going to go in and put it out, but they have to be the people that go first. If somebody's trapped in a tall building, if somebody's trapped in any type of car wreck, they have to be the first person and have to figure out solutions to solve a problem safely for everyone. And we're not like in New York with the tons and tons of tall buildings, but there's a lot of potentially dangerous situations that you yourself have been in.
Exactly. I liken firefighting to old school revolutionary Minutemen. That's basically what we are. At a moment's notice, we have to spring into action and be ready to perform, and that's in a 24-hour shift. So there are a lot of different shifts across the country in firefighting, but here in our state, Majority of us work 24 hours on, 48 hours off. So tomorrow I'll go in from 8 a.m., which will be Wednesday at 8 a.m., and I won't get off until Thursday morning at 8 a.m. So we're there for 24 hours, and then we'll get 48 hours off. So we basically work 10 days a month. But at any time, we have to be able to respond. So unlike the average employee or the average worker, he say, well, I'm going on my break. I'm going on lunch. We don't get those. I mean, if we're sitting out eating lunch, the bell rings, we have to get up and leave. If we go to the store, the bell rings, we have to put down our stuff and go. So in a moment's of notice, we have to be ready to respond. And it could be a wide gambit of things, like you mentioned, from uh, fire to a medical emergency to a wreck with injuries to a confined space situation to a hazmat spill, to a water rescue. So, a rope rescue, it could be a large variety of things. So you have to be able to respond and then have the presence of mind to mitigate the situation appropriately.
Yeah. Now, one thing, a lot of these kids might think this is a job only for men. But there is a growing trend in females getting into this field, and I know there's a need for them.
Exactly. There is a large number. If you were to look across the United States, there's a large number of women starting to get into the fire service, and it's an uptrend. There are a few here in the state of Mississippi, and here in the local area, there are a few. And if you can do the job, come right on. I mean, it's for any and everybody. And so if you're a young lady and that's your interest, I I applaud you and I invite you to come out and try for it.
Yeah. And before I get to the students' questions, I do want to talk about. I think it's so cool some of the training that I see in some of these firefighters do. And again, like I said, if you're a sports person and you want to stay in shape, it could be a great field for it because again, you're with the team and you're staying on top of your physical aspects. So, what's some of the training that you guys go through?
Well, just to actually have an opportunity to be a firefighter, um, and to get into the academy, we used to have a test called a CPAT test, and basically it's kind of a simulation of what you would do as a firefighter. So the first initial thing would be you would walk on a treadmill and you'll have 75 pounds on, and you're going to walk at 60 steps a minute for like, I think it's 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Wow.
Then you come off and you'll have to carry some tools. So basically, this test is set up to see if you'll be able to handle this job as a firefighter, because basically, when you put all your gear on, you have an extra 75 pounds
Wow.
on average, somewhere around there, depending on, 4 or 5 pounds, depending on the size of a person, because your boots are not going to wear the same. It's going to, the size of your boots is going to determine how much it weighs. And same with your turnout gear. If you're a smaller person, your gear might not weigh as much. But if you're a bigger person, you're going to be closer to that 75-pound mark. And all the air packs weigh the same. So that kind of thing. See if
Um,
you would be strong enough to do the job.
I mean, and just thinking about that just sounds hard. You don't realize how much weight that is until you actually have to do it with in a life and death situation. But we would be remiss because we've got to talk about this. You also are a Division I football official, and a college basketball official, and we've called several games together. And I think it's important. I'm not telling our exact age. We're both in our 40s, but we are actually two of the younger officials around. And even though we can still keep up with them, that's not a good sign. And we need to get more young people, no matter what sport it is, involved in officiating, because me and you aren't going to be able to run with these kids forever.
Exactly.
And also, and again, it's helped us stay close to the game. It gives us that team aspect, and it helps us, also great exercise. So, and also a need for women in that as well. So talk a little bit about, why we need more young people to get into officiating in the high school and college ranks.
Well, first and foremost, just if they're athletes now, they can appreciate when they have a game and they're able to interact with the officials and they feel like the officials did a great job and had a great personality. So they've had that experience. And they probably had the flip side of the experience where they didn't think that the officials did a good job, or they didn't think that they were prepared. So as a way to provide that service to the community, to the to the kids coming behind them. It's a great opportunity for those who are already in athletics to get involved in it, and those who have an interest in athletics can do so as well. It's a great opportunity. It's going to open up doors for you. You build relationships and make friends that you'll have for the rest of your life. It's a great opportunity, and after a while, you'll start to see that it's not a bad pay.
Yep.
You know, as you move up, it's just one of those things. But if you love the game, it's an opportunity to stay around the game,
Yep.
and you providing a service to the kids and to the community.
Yeah, and like it's a great workout, and you're getting money in your pocket to work out. So if you want to stay in shape, that's a great idea. We just had to touch on that because I think it's also extremely important. But I'm going to get to these students' questions. I'll get to as many as I can. These are all ninth graders, and they've got some good ones. This first one is to Kyria Watts, and she said, "What are some of the psychological requirements of a firefighter?"
Well, basically, any job you're going to be of sound mind and body, of course, but there are going to be situations where you're going to be exposed to things that might have a lingering effect. And in those situations, we have a critical debriefing, where you're able to sit down and talk about it, and we'll bring in outside sources for counseling and that kind of thing. But you want to be a sound mind and body, of course, and you want to be a level-headed person, and all those things are kind of discovered or uncovered in the interview process.
Now here's a good one. This is Krishan Smith, and he asked, "What is your biggest fear as a firefighter?"
Not being prepared.
Ooh.
Not being prepared. So every day when I go into work, my goal is to be prepared, and I want to protect my crew, protect myself, and do my job to protect the city. And you want to be prepared for any and everything, and you just don't know what's going to happen. So that's a lot of times when people think we're sitting around doing anything, we're doing nothing. As an officer, I'm picking my brain, thinking of scenarios or situations and how to handle them, and doing research and doing training in those areas. And a lot of times we have to be very honest with ourselves and know where our weaknesses are to try to improve in those areas while still staying sharp in the areas that you're good in. So yeah, being prepared would be the most biggest fear. And what I mean by that is thinking, reacting, and responding in pressure situations. It's all fun and games, and until it happens, right?
Yeah.
That call right now at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when we go respond to a house fire is not the same as that call at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm in the bed sleeping. I have to get up and then put my mind to focus on what's going on and where we're going and how we're going to attack whatever's going on when we arrive on scene. So that's a big thing too. So being prepared is always a challenge. But
Yeah,
to this day, that's something we want to do.
yeah, and and you always say, there's some equipment you might need, but you might not need it. But the worst thing is to not have it when you get out there in an emergency situation. So, that inventory of the equipment is extremely important in this line of work.
And that's something that we do on a day-to-day basis. From the from the moment shift starts, that's the first thing the guy is going to do. Each individual is going to inventory his personal equipment and make sure that it's in service and ready to work. Then the driver operator will then, from that point, he's going to do a brief check of the truck to make sure that it's ready to go, and if there's any issues or problems, and we're going to get to the bottom of that and get that squared away before the shifts get started. And that's one of the biggest things. That's one of the biggest parts of being ready and being prepared is knowing that we have all our equipment, that it's all functioning properly, and we're ready to go. So that's the first thing that we do every shift.
Yeah, and then and something else, if you have to go to a rural area and there's no fire hydrants, you're gonna have to make sure you're gonna have water in that tank too.
Well, yeah, each engine and ladder in our city has at least 500 gallons. It's going to holds 500 gallons. Sounds like a lot of water, but that's about 4 minutes.
Yep.
That's about 4 to 5 minutes.
Wow.
If we're pumping a fire at the PSI that we're supposed to try to put it in. So we have 4 minutes to establish a water supply. And if there's a situation where we're out in rural area and the hydrant's not nearby and we have to shuttle water, that changes the scenario completely.
Wow. Wow. Here's a good one. This is Alexis Bailey, and she asked, "What was your biggest inspiration to become a firefighter?"
Well, everybody, it's always interesting. You get that question, and what people will learn when you're getting to becoming an adult and you start to interview for jobs. One of the major questions you're going to be asked from being a firefighter to being a lawyer: why do you want to do this? That's the biggest question. And you can always get that cookie cutter answer. Oh, this is something I want to do all my life, or I just wanted to help people. Honestly, just like you mentioned, once I finished my career, I tried a few other things. I was a project manager for an engineering firm. I sold insurance, but the team aspect is what drew me to becoming a firefighter. Being able to stay in shape, um, being a part of a team, being able to provide a service to the community. All those were positives for me, and that's what drew me to the fire service. I actually had a couple of friends that were already working in the fire service, and talking with them, listening to their experiences and some of the opportunities that was presented to them from that. I said, man, that's like, I wouldn't mind doing that. And here we are 16 and a half years later.
Awesome. Here's a good one. This is Michael Sherrill, and he asked, "Was it hard to leave football behind?"
Well, I should have coined this statement and I should have got credit for it, but it's something that I say a lot of times when I ask this question. The skills may diminish, but the desire never goes away.
Yeah.
And that's why I referee, because I
Yeah.
want to be around the game.
Yeah.
That's why you referee, because you want to be around the game. You love this. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just I can't get enough of it. So I want to be involved in some form of fashion, from the grassroots up to the league that I'm in now. I love it. I want to be a part of it, and it's a part of who I am. But of course, there's always more to me than that. But it's something that I've been involved with, I guess now for over 30 some years, I guess you could say. So I hadn't gotten rid of it yet. It just changes.
Yeah.
I've played it, I've coached it, I officiated, I've commentated it. So as much as possible, I plan to be around this game for as long as I can be in some form or fashion.
And the kids get faster and we get slower.
That's right. They keep having birthdays.
Exactly. Uh, Here's Jayla Graham, and she asked, "Is it hard to stay in physical shape as a firefighter?"
Well, I don't think so. For me, it's not. Uh, for me, it's a way of life. That's the way I look at it. Now, there are some people who may struggle with it, but as a former athlete, training is something that I'm used to doing. I'm accustomed to doing. Um, as a former football player, that when that spring comes and they cut the grass for that first time, it's like, man, I need to be out there. So it's not hard for me. And I know if I want to be able to perform and do my job at a high level, I got to maintain a level of fitness. And I'm going to require that of everybody that's at my station. Everybody that's under my under my responsibility. We're going to make sure that we do what is necessary so we'll be able to do our job and do our job at a high level.
All right, let's got one more. This is Tykevian Boyd, and he asked, "What is the hardest part of putting out a fire?"
Well, basically, it's it that's a simple question, but it depends. There's so many scenarios. Okay, so it depends on what time we get, how if we catch a fire in the early stages, or meaning if we respond there and it's just getting started, or if it's out of control. That's going to stipulate how much time and what strategies and what techniques we're going to have to do. It's a little more than just putting wet stuff on red stuff at times. So a simple fire doesn't take much. We're going to always try to push from the unburned to the burn. That's our goal. So if we roll up on the house and it's in the back side of the house, we're going to start in the front and try to keep the fire at the back of the house and put it out. But if it's in the middle of the house, that strategy doesn't always work because it could go either way. So now we're going to have to change our tactics. Instead of one hose line, maybe two hose lines, we'll go in and we'll squeeze the fire. So it's a tactic based on what the scenario is. And as an officer, when I arrive on scene, that's my job to determine what tactic, which strategy we're going to use. Are we going to be able to make entry, or are we going to go offense or defense? Here we go with that sports stuff. If we're offense, we're going to go in there, put a blitz attack on it, and put it out. But if it's gotten out of control, then we're going to stay out in the yard and be defensive. When the bell goes off, the problem is already started. All we're there to do to mitigate it we're trying to alleviate the problem as much as possible. But we have three main focuses when we respond on any call. And that's life safety, which is number one, steam stable, steam stabilization, and that's going to get everything under control as best property. And the last thing is property conservation.
Yeah.
So those are our three axioms every time we roll out on a call: medical, fire, Rex, confined space. That's the biggest thing. The biggest thing we want to do is we're gonna take care of ourselves and help those people in need. So that's the life safety aspect right off the rip, okay? And then the other one is this steam stabilization, and that could be, if it's medical, we want to try to get those people to a state where they're stable, and if an ambulance is necessary to transport them. If it's a fire, we want to get it under control and get it out, and then we'll go to the last thing is property conservation. So those are the three major goals that we have anytime we arrive on scene to any type of situation.
All right. Well, we're almost out of time. And thank you so much. This is always so cool. But before we go, two things. One, you got to tell the story about when you got the guy off the scaffold at the Butler Snow building, because I think that's so funny.
Man, I was young in the fire service then, and just being a part of it was like, wow. It's one of those now when you talk about that, that's one of those Chicago fire type things, people think that doesn't happen, but it happens. And just being there watching it, I'm like, oh my goodness. Those I actually wasn't up on the scaffold. I was there kind of in backup. And like I said, we take a lot of training to prepare us for those situations. And we have a lot of guys that are very knowledgeable in rope rescue. So of course we had to put the basket up there and put him in the basket and lower him. And we did it pretty quickly, and it was very safe. It's just one of those calls that you don't run a whole lot,
Yeah.
especially in the city of Ridgeland, where we only have 3 or 4 buildings that are over 6 feet. I mean, 6 stories. But yeah, that building was in the process of being built. So, it's one of those, oh, wow, trying to be nice.
So it's like one of those ones. Well, that's the one you see on TV. I mean, stuff
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
But before we go, just tell these young people why they should really look into getting into the fire service, because, like we said, people like you aren't getting any younger, and we need young people that are hungry, and it's such an important job, and people, lives and property is at stake.
Well, for me, my biggest thing is I'm going to say is this: to be a firefighter, it has to be a calling, to me.
Yeah.
Because we have guys that come in and out this business, and it's got to be something that you want to do. And it's the same thing in your field. You see teachers go and come, but if they don't have a love and passion for it, they're not in the wrong place. I mean, they're not in the right place. But if that's what you want to do, there are all kind of, opportunities out there for you. You could have a great career. You can have a lot of opportunity, and you have a lot of free time to explore entrepreneurship, to have your own business, to do other things like officiate. And so that 10 days a month gives you a lot of flexibility. Mm-hmm. So it's something that if you're interested in, there are so many opportunities out there and available for you. Firefighting just getting into the fire service opened up so many opportunities for after your career's over, because take me for example. I have so many certifications. I could work in a hazmat scene, so because I'm a hazmat tech. I could get into inspections after I'm done because I'm a fire inspector. All these things you get a chance to do. I have a fire investigator certification. So after I'm finished with here, I could work for an insurance company on just doing investigations for arson so there are so many avenues that these just becoming a firefighter would provide to you. It's a value there, and we're always looking for good, motivated young people.
Yeah, and if they want to come by any of the stations and look around.
Yeah, anytime. You'll be hard pressed to find any fire department in the metro area that'll turn you down if you come by and want to see the station.
Yeah, because I think it's important. We see all stuff on TV, but I think if somebody's really interested, they should come by and see what all you guys do. I know you guys sometimes y'all are bored and you want somebody to talk to. So, anybody that's interested, the Ridgeland Fire has several locations that you love to have them come by and show them around.
Exactly. Anytime.
All right. Well, thanks again, Sean Woodson, captain with the Ridgeland Fire Department. One of my favorite interviews. One of my favorite people. Thank you so much, my man.
All right, man. Y'all have a good day.
I'll see you soon, buddy.
All right, bye.